Distinction between a debt discharge and a debt paid. When discharged, the debt still exists though divested of its character as a legal obligation during the operation of the discharge. Something of the original vitality of the debt continues to exist, which may be transferred, even though the transferee takes it subject to its disability incident to the discharge. So what they're saying, if you discharge a debt, it doesn't necessarily go away. That debt is still can be collected on. They can pass it on. They can assign it to someone else. So you don't want to do discharge. It's basically what this is saying. You want to be able to extinguish the debt completely, where they're not coming back to you for it. And the only way to do it is to organize your estate properly, and we're going to show you the steps of what you need to do. All right. The fact that it carries something which may be a consideration for a new promise to pay so as to make an otherwise worthless promise a legal obligation makes it the subject of transfer by assignment. This is why when people are trying to discharge, they'll ignore you and still collect. And I could tell you this has been my experience. Now, this is something I did to a car I had purchased. I had a note on some years ago when I was trying to play around with different methods of discharge. I went in on the account electronically, figured out what my account number through my Social Security was, put in those numbers, and paid the debt in full. It lasted for 2 weeks and it came back. But here's the interesting thing about it. When it came back, it never hit my credit report again. Although they kept calling me for the money and wanted the money and threatened to take the car if I didn't make the payments. That car to this day is not showing that I paid off that car or did anything. And reading this definition helps me understand why. I did not extinguish the debt. I discharged it, but I didn't get the obligation off of me. So therefore, we got this payment by way of discharge through the Social Security number, but hey, this guy don't know what he's doing. We're gonna still hang him up and get the money anyway. This is why if any of you have ever done discharge the other ways where you make the money or as a minimum, they'll keep that money order, never send it back, but still want you to keep the money. Can anybody on here agree with what I just said? Have that same experience? I know there's a couple of people on here, at least 2 people on here have had that experience. Right? And they'll act like they don't even say that they received a bad check. They just ignore it. Am I right or wrong?
True.
Right. So that means there's something to that process. It's just not complete. It's something missing that you don't know and they know you don't know. So they'll just come they're not going to want the whole public to become aware. If everybody was able to just write these money orders and send it to these people, it would shut their whole system down. So they like discharge. They love it when people get on the internet and claim you can discharge because they're getting free money. They're making millions of dollars every year off of people sending in these instruments and then ignore them. You never hear from them again. I've come to I believe that when you see these people on the internet and they get these huge followings out of it, y'all look at my videos. I know I got a lot of followers, but I don't get a lot of views, or it doesn't show I get a lot of views. But these other people come out of nowhere and they got thousands of views. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Huh? They get thousands of views teaching this stuff. And then after a while, maybe 7-8 months, they disappear. No one has got remedy at all. They never come back and say no one got remedy. They just disappear. I believe that's them putting people out there to lure people in to do these discharge processes so they can keep those instruments. You're putting more money.
I called one out.
Huh?
I called one out on Instagram. There's a woman just showing them at the dealership with on the car and all this. I said, I know you're an agent. I know for a fact you're an agent, but you.
All right. It is Truth Tuesday with your host, Akeem L, here on Hindsight Radio, in conjunction with the Church of Infinite Abundance and Akeem Private Church. What you were listening to right there was the discharge webinar that I did this past Saturday. Quite a few people supported the cause, and they learned a lot of stuff. Funny thing is, I sent out the invitation for the discharge seminar coming up in this month on the 21st, Saturday in Atlanta. The flyer's right there. There it is. Courtyard, Atlanta, 133 Carnegie Way. We talked mainly at this webinar about discharge, and actually showed the 1099 templates and when why you do it this way. We showed the trust that are required, all of that stuff we went through. And you know what the funny thing is? The funny thing about the whole thing, the discharge, they teach you how to do it on it. If you read the instructions of the 1099, the instructions is right there on what needs to be done. But no, people want to listen to their friends and people they believe are telling the truth about stuff. The thing that gets me, people are willing to try stuff that people who are teaching them have not even done it themselves or even shown any proof of it. But it makes sense to me, so I think it'll work. Well, if it's that good, someone should be able to come forward and say it worked. I mean, at least one person. Never happens that way. And I believe the reason why people are so easily caught up is because their mindset is so in this place of getting something for nothing. They're willing to just overlook common sense in order to do it. I had that mindset at one point until I woke up and said, what are you doing, man? Go out there and just make your money and just pay those things. You did enter into a contract, right? I mean, there's people just stressing themselves out trying to get around this, what we call the system, and no further along than they was when they started. Actually, they behind. They behind the 8 ball. That's what happens when you start playing with your mortgage, right? You get into foreclosure, it starts building up on you. The only way you're going to come out of foreclosure is a modification. Then they're going to take all that back money you didn't pay and put it on the back of that loan. And now you right back where you started with a 30-year plus mortgage starting over. Messing with these gurus. And I can tell you in the method that we are teaching, you have to be an honor in order for it to work. You have to be making those payments. Anyway, I ain't going to get into all of that. Listen up. 10/21/23, 9 a.m. to 5, discharge seminar. There you go. Student loan discharge, car loan discharge, mortgage discharge, 1099A, 1099C, trust grants for nonprofits. There's going to be someone there who's an expert on that, and business funding. I'll see you guys there in person in Atlanta. I'm looking forward to it. So let's see who's in the chat. Discipleship Ministry said, peace, brother. Corinne says, happy Tuesday, everyone. Back at you. In La Vida is waving high. In La Vida, what is that? That is a Spanish, that's a Spanish phrase, isn't it? Live in La Vida. Okay. Interpret that for me. I think I know it. But I don't want to mess that up. DJ B Thunder. Evening, everyone. Oh, beginning available with a question mark. I'm not sure what you mean by beginning available. Peace and love, everyone. See, DJ B, he was on. He said 5-hour webinar was well worth it. I know it wasn't supposed to be that long, but I am happy I took advantage of it. Yes, sir. It was. It was a long webinar because we had to take a break. Al had to, do something with the family. His girls was competing in something, so he didn't get on at 2:00. So I went until 1:00. Took a break for an hour. We came back. He still wasn't on. He didn't get on till like 2:30. So I played one of his old videos that he covered on trust, and then he came in and he broke it all down. Space Mind says, I'm late. I missed everything. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can always go back and watch the recording. And that webinar is going to be up for sale once I send it off to be edited. Omar L says, peace, God. Peace back to you, God. Greetings, family. All praise Yah. He said, I love to be in ATL seminar, but I work on Saturday. Oh, man, take the day off. Supposed to be quitting them jobs anyway, man. First, sorry. This is Raquel. This is the whole reason why we're here. Because Raquel put all of this.
The whole reason.
Huh?
I'm just a conduit.
Okay. You're the whole conduit why we're here. Okay? And because you don't meet people like this often. She feels so deeply about helping people. And sometimes I said, poor child. Like, I would say she's trying to help everybody.
Yeah.
But she's at that stage where she wants to help everybody. And then she'll get to another stage like, I'm not going to be everybody's Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, because that didn't turn out well for him either, right? We see what they did. So she's, and that's why I learned with wisdom, like, let people stay where they are. They'll figure it out just like I figured it out. I don't have to adjust anything about their thinking. And usually what happens, as I'm thinking it, they'll call me. You know what I think? And they be thinking exactly what I think, and I'm like, got it. But she wants to help everybody, and she feels deeply about helping everybody because she tells everybody about, I've gotten so many content. This is how I met Menorah and Elizabeth and plenty other people. And this gentleman here, he's here because of that. So she's truly an asset to my life. Really, she is. And I really appreciate you. That's what I want to publicly tell people. Go ahead.
Yeah, so these women help to bring babies into life, and I help the babies once they're in this life, and help to guide moms, and the moms guide me, and the babies guide me. So portal, they do provide the seed. So it's just important to remember that when we co-create, when we work together, we can make an incredible world. It's up to us, and we don't need the matrix. We'll use the matrix, but we don't need the matrix. And we just have to be prepared for their tricks and their guises, and hold true to who and what we are, which I feel is where we keep on getting lost. We forget who and what we are, and that's what we have to remember all the time. And as someone who works with kids, we also have to remember to play. This is all, using play, play their games, but then also have fun. So right now we're about to have fun learning a lot of the basis. Our strong foundation. We don't have a strong foundation.
You're warming me up right now.
Yeah, so if we don't have that foundation, we end up getting desperate. Let's not be desperate. Let's have that strong foundation. As someone who has to study the brain, the cerebellum is the base. So if we don't have a strong cerebellum, we don't have a strong prefrontal cortex to problem solve. So today we are doing the strong foundation with the Constitution, so we have that ability to problem solve and really kick ass.
Let's have fun.
All right.
We have a really keep class and open up. I want to start with, we have to recognize where our wisdom comes from. Our wisdom comes from. And for so long in traditional religious thoughts, and that's all of them, they concentrated on man. But for as long as I can remember, I always had a problem with that. I'm like, how is the masculine is highlighted so much, but we all can't get here but through the woman's womb? That was questions I've always had. And what I've learned as I got older, that what is not making sense to me means that there's something unspiritual about that. Because spiritual is truth. So it'll always make sense. Even if you don't like it, it'll make sense. So if I say something true to you that hits home, you'll be like, oh, it hurt, but it makes sense because you know why it hurts, because it's something you need to adjust. But when you're in a situation where you're confused and it's just not, all of the dots are not connecting, that's the definition of something being evil or unspiritual. Because the Bible says you must worship God in spirit and in truth. Mm-hmm. And God is spirit and truth, mm-hmm. right? So, but we had this concept of a masculine God who is about the truth. But when you read the Bible, there's so many places you can go and they're like, this doesn't make sense. Like, how can he be all-knowing, but yet he created humans who screwed up, and this is why we're here. So he must have known what he was creating was going to be a screw up. And then there was places in the Bible that said, well, God felt sorry that he made man. He had regret. That's actually in the Bible. If y'all don't believe me, just do a Google. Show me the scripture that says God regret making man, and this is why we had the flood. Right? Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
But when I got onto the concept of the feminine aspect of God, it all made sense instantly. Like, what if God was more on the feminine side, and we came through this God, just like, because everything has to line up, right? We come through the woman, but we come through God, so God has to be. The low form of God is the women, and then, oh wait a minute, that's a feminine producing this. And then where did the male came in? The male came in, that's also, we're not going to go into that. That's going to take us till tomorrow. But what I'm trying to say is, this matrix is designed as the opposite of what is true. So it had to give you the masculine look at everything so you couldn't see the truth. But when you release and unleash the feminine power, then there you'll see the truth. You'll see all understanding comes. You're like, wait a minute, okay. Now we understand why they go after the woman's mind first. Our mind, think about it, our minds are already captivated by the time we get into this world. Why? Because they went after the woman's mind first. And you're coming through the womb of that woman, and now you have everything she just passed on to you. From a spiritual point of view, because spirituality can go from one spectrum to the next. You can have an evil form of spirituality, but it's still working in a form of truth. And a more positive form that's working in it, because truth, evil, because in a more positive form that's working in it, because truth, evil, and good, those are truths, but at two different spectrums. So that's why it's important to capture the mind of the female, because she is producing, and she's the first teacher, she's the first toucher of life, everything. So if you contaminate it from the beginning, you got it. And this is why, and you said it earlier, we've been programmed for a long time. And this is why it takes you so long to come out of that sleep. So don't feel bad that, oh, I need to know more and I gotta get here, you'll get there. The key is you want that. You want the truth. Because that's what happened to me. I said I want the truth, and then it just came to me why I didn't have the truth. It said, well, you don't know me because everything you know comes from somewhere else. What you believe about God, everything, you read it in a book and you believe that. Somebody told you you need to interpret the scriptures this way. You never read that book for yourself with your own, try to get your own understanding on it. Because why? There's a scripture that's planted in the Bible that says, do not lean on your own understanding. They put that in there, but lean on every other from God, right? But they never told you what God you're talking about. Never. Because where does God really reside? Within you. See, they gave you the concept of a God over here, up there. They made you believe you had to die to have good times, to get anything good. It was a sin to get good stuff now. I know that's what we were taught, right? Don't go for the education. Don't do this. You need to worship. We call Jehovah's called Jehovah, and please him at all times. Don't disgrace him. Don't do nothing. You're so busy trying to please something. You're like, wait a minute, when do I got time for myself? You know, and I got time for that. And guess what broke me out of it, though? Guess what broke? Somebody take a wild guess what broke me out of the spell. And it happens to everyone in this room.
Did you get hit with a snowball?
Huh?
You got hit with one of them snowballs?
No. I got hit with a snowball, but it was a type of snowball.
Being broke?
No. What broke me out of the spell, take a while, maybe in a minute.
Yeah, maybe.
What is the one thing that sets you on your rite of passage as a man? Huh?
A woman?
Huh?
A woman?
A woman?
Say it louder.
A woman.
A woman. Or young girl at the time.
Yeah.
I got my first taste of some good stuff. When I was in my teenage. And my nose was so wide you could drive the 7, the A, the E, do it at the same time. And I never looked back. But at the time that happened, it was my worst experience because when I got that rite of passage, it was a sin. And you did something wrong. I had to go before the elders and they just fellowshipped me from Jehovah's Witness for that. Right? That's a whole nother story. But now that I'm recalling, Sophia just reminded me, she put me right back. What started me on the path? That. Receiving what they said was wrong to receive. And that's when I realized I was deceived. Because My father, remember, they taught me about sex. They told me all the bad stuff. Sexually transmitted diseases, unwanted pregnancy. But they never told me that that thing was going to feel so good that I would chase it for the rest of my life. And I would risk everything for it. They never told me that. Right? Y'all feel me, right? Y'all don't get it. As women, we will risk, some of y'all do, because y'all been in that position, we will risk anything for it. If we want it, okay, whatever it takes, we go for it. Let's be, we can admit that, right? That's not a weakness.
Look at all the men that are in trouble right now.
But Bob Daddy, he want men and women, but he a little bit above the board with his stuff. but he, you know, what I'm saying? So that set me on a path that I've never been right since, because up until that point, I tried to be a good Jehovah's Witness, tried to do everything, got baptized, went out in field service, tried to recruit people. And I was only doing it because I wanted to make my parents proud. And here's a little story. Only reason why I got baptized is I asked my father a question, well, can a teenager get baptized? And I was just asking a question. I wasn't asking because I wanted to get baptized. He ran with that. Oh, you want to get baptized? And I didn't want to disappoint him. And I didn't want to, he doesn't know this to this day. I would never tell him that. I would never hurt him like that. I didn't want to get baptized. I just wanted to, because it was just a thought that popped. Can teenagers get baptized? And I just asked him, and he ran with, oh, you want to get baptized? He took me to the elders. He wanted to get baptized, and I'm sitting there like, no, I don't. I don't want this. But I didn't have the courage to speak up to my father, because he was how was my father? How was he at that time?
He was like OG.
That belt was flying everywhere, okay? Every little thing. You spill the milk. He was wild. Wild, wild west. But at the same time, I thank him because he did make me the man that I am. He was always responsible. My father's still alive. Unfortunately, he's in a rehab right now. And I'm 55. He's 20 years older than me, so he's 75. But he's never missed a night at home that I know of. Mm-hmm. Was he perfect? Hell no. He was not. He was far from it.
Unless he was working overnight, that's the only way.
Transit. Transit, he worked overnight. What I mean by missed a night, he always was home. You know, he was home so much, we're like, I wish he don't come back. Because that was the time we were doing something, we knew I was getting our ass beat. Yeah. Just get hit by a train or something. Yeah, we think like that. It was anything other than getting a beat, trust me. Okay, my father was hell.
Heavy with that belt.
Man, he don't stop. You got to be running around the whole room, swinging. I used to put him out of breath. That's how. Yo, what's up? What's up? My mic sounds loud. Can y'all hear me? I don't know what's up with the settings and all of that. Like I couldn't get that volume up when it was playing before. But yeah, y'all got the point. I hope y'all got something out of it. So yes, this weekend was the seminar in New York. We had a okay turnout. You know, no one had to pay. You know, donations were good. But somebody said they forgot I started at 7. Yeah, that's probably my brother. Yeah, so I got to see my brother. Hadn't seen him in some years. It's been a minute. He lives up there in Staten Island in New York. But peace, everybody. It's Tuesday, the 27th of May. A few days left, and we'll be in June. 6 months into the year. And, you know, it's I had a consultation today from my naturopathic practitioner. We meet every couple of weeks.
to see how I'm doing on my diet and the different things I'm doing. I'm gonna refer anybody who's looking to get their health in check. I'm gonna refer you guys to her and her husband. There's a husband and wife team. They're very good. And the things they've been doing for me is, I'm thankful, and it's been great that um, you know, things been working out. But we were talking about, she gives me these meditations that I should be doing, which I don't do every day. And she gave me this story about meditations, how she met someone and they said, how many years have you been doing your meditations? And, she was doing them sporadically and not every day too. And she would just give me an example, doing meditations is a way of life. Once, it should be a way of life. That's the only way that you're going to become a new person, right? If I really want to transform, I have to meditate on things day and night, reflect. I mean, even in the Christ story, he went off. He never forsook his time to himself in his meditations. And looking at the example he showed, that example, the allegorical example, the only way he could be able to not be judging people for their sins, not to judge people or lash out at people when they do something wrong. Only recorded evidence of there was a lash out was when, the scribes and Pharisees would take advantage of the people. He was very passionate about that. The other lash out when he threw the money changers in the church or the temple, because they turned religion into a commercial affair to make money off of people's wanting to get closer to God. Right? It's okay to monetize and make money, but they were just taking advantage of everything in the temple. So meditation was one of the things, and I wrote it down, I have to do on a daily basis. And not just once or twice a day. There's groups of people like the Muslim faith. They pray at certain times of the day. They're very religious about that. They do that. And not just do any meditation, meditation, if I need to improve somewhere in my life, whatever that might be, it needs to be in those meditations. Wake up, middle of the day, in the evening. So right now, my goal is to at least do 3 meditations. They don't have to be long meditations. 15-minute meditations is good enough. And then, I do have an hour-long ones. That's something I'll probably do in the evening. That a meditation for that long. So, but yes, meditation is a way of life. If you really want to change your money circumstances, change your finances, you're gonna have to get those affirmations out and meditate and really go in deeply about that. Go in. And another thing I'm always talking about is you got to change your associations. You got to. There's no way to make any real change in your life if you don't change the surroundings. And that means the people in your life, what are they doing? How are they affecting your progress? In a positive or negative way, you have to look at it. See, so many times people have issues, but they resort to things, substances, and all these things on a regular basis. I don't have any, I have nothing against people who choose to, you know, taking little mind altering things. I have no problem with that. But then I notice people, they do it as a habit. It's a habit. They can't function without it. Now, when you get to that, when you can't function, then that's an addiction. But like to doing something like to elevate your consciousness, I don't have any problem with that. I'm thinking about doing ayahuasca or something similar. But I have a purpose in mind. I spoke to someone that had a real traumatic experience, and they took mushrooms, and the mushrooms helped them get clarity. But it wasn't a habit. You don't think Christ was taking shrooms back then? Seeing how he traveled around and was participated in the Buddhist. How did he even learn about meditation if he didn't have touch with Hindus, Buddhism, and different other schools of thought? I've always told you all of these schools of thought come from one place. They just divided them so that you would think they were all separate. And then some just went to one extreme they took everything, like especially Christianity. They just went extreme with it. You can't do nothing without learning this. This is it. This is the end all be all. The newest religion on the planet comes out and says, y'all ain't doing this. Now, let me clear up. Christianity is not founded by the European. This new age, new form of Christianity was founded. This more destructive form of Christianity was founded on European principles. Okay, just be clear. Let's separate it. Starting from Catholicism, and then from there, everything else broke off and became more different than the last. And before, Catholicism was like the dominant. They had to go around and destroy the Gnostic Christians because they were more into spirituality. They were more into the feminine aspect of God, not just the masculine. And then from Catholicism, we had Protestants. Protestants came about as a protest to the Catholicism's theology. That's why it's called Protestant, but it's really Protestant. Then from Protestant, then everything else. You got Baptist and Pentecostal and Episcopalian and Methodist. It became so many different branches. So we're so far from accurate information. It's just, it's not even funny anymore. You get lost. So let's talk about something here. In the seminar, I brought up counter deed. And that video, those videos, I got to put them all together. You could pre-order the seminar on my website, akimel.com. It's $200. And that'll give you the whole day and everything I spoke about there. I had three women open up. I didn't show the other two because I wanted to get their permission first before I let them be on, a live broadcast. I had that, the one woman that Raquel, I showed, I got her permission first. I don't just put people on the screen without asking their permission, especially when they're speaking and things like that. They may not want the whole world to know their business. I don't know. Although they didn't say anything out there, but still, it's always good to get permission. Once I get that permission, you'll see the other two. I'm in the habit of letting the feminine open up my seminars because we all get here through the woman. There's no way we all, that's just how we start, through that divine portal. So, but I enjoyed my time. I really appreciate them bringing me out. So, or setting up the place. The place that we had it at was nice and roomy. And went and ate at this place called Roz. It's like an Ethiopian vegan place. It was really good. Good place to eat. Thank you, Raquel, for introducing me to that. I really enjoyed that. I'm like looking for a place around here that's similar. Because I'm really trying to I haven't been really eating, actually I haven't eating, beef and chicken. I haven't been eating a whole lot of that. Very my diet is really cut down to mainly vegetables, lentils, and fish. And I feel it. I feel good. That's why I say I'm supposed to be working with the naturopathics, over the coming months where we're going to do something together. We've talked about this and introduce them to my people in the membership and whoever who wants to get their health, take control of their health and do it the natural way. So I don't want to talk too much medical stuff on here because you know how the matrix is. But I talked about something. Let me. I'm just jumping. Um, I talked about counter deeds, and y'all need to look up that word counter deed. Counter deed. I'm gonna read the definition of it. I might have mentioned it. I don't even remember if I mentioned it last week. These weeks are moving. Is it me or these weeks are moving like so fast, like you can't keep up? Hang on, I'm gonna pull up my. Let's go to counter deed. Now, I'm gonna be very. Those of you who, when I read this, y'all understand. Some of y'all are adept and y'all get it without me having to explain it, right? Let's see. Counter deed, a secret writing either before a notary or under a private seal which destroys, invalidates, or alters a public one. Or alters a public one. Let me see. Where's my chat window? Think about that. That's very powerful. Well, I will say this. In the beginning, when I first started this process, it was told to, go get your birth certificate, authenticate it, then you put an affidavit on it because that was based on Rule 220. The Minnesota Rule 220, right? To show ownership of that, right? That's not a counter deed. Because this specifically say a secret writing even before a notary under private seal which destroys, invalidates, or alters a public one. So basically, you have to, whatever document or deed, whatever, you have to create your own, a secret document, a secret writing, either before a notary under this private seal, which destroys and invalidates or alters a public one. So in this secret writing, it must reference whatever you're destroying and saying this trumps that, basically. Now, this is something I didn't really, I don't think I mentioned it or said it this way in the seminar. A secret writing before a notary under private seal, before a notary or under a private seal, so you can create your own seal, which destroys, invalidates, or alters a public one. So what are public deeds? What are public? You got your house deed. Like let's find out. Let's see what are counter deeds used mostly in for. let's see. What are counter deeds used for mostly? It says here, wow. Give me a second. I'm just so it says here, a counter deed is a legal or administrative document created to clarify, rebut, or supplement the information contained in an existing deed or official record. It says deed or official record. So you got a lot of official records. You have the deed of your house, your birth certificate, um, even your driver's license is an official record, right? A counter deed may be used to correct or clarify errors in public records, such as name misspelling, incorrect property description, or mistaken identity that appear in previously recorded documents. Rebutting presumptions of legal relationship. If a document such as a deed or certificate implies a legal relationship that is inaccurate or undesired, such as guardianship, agency, or ownership, a counter deed may be filed to state the correct legal facts or to disclaim unwanted association. In real estate, a counter deed may be used to clarify a person's interest in property. For example, to confirm that a transfer was a mortgage rather than a sale. To show a beneficial interest in property held in trust. To assert, see that? To show a beneficial interest in property held in trust. To assert that a previously recorded document does not reflect the true nature of the transaction. Supporting trust or estate administration. Counter deeds can be used in the context of trust and estate planning to confirm that property was placed in trust at a certain date. Clarify the terms of a private transfer to or from a trust or estate. Document the intentions of a grantor or trustee not captured in public filings. Sometimes individuals or organizations file a counter deed simply to create an official record of their legal position, interest, or intent, especially when creating a paper trail to protect future claims. So, while a counter deed may not override a previous recorded document on its own, it becomes important evidence if a legal dispute arises. It is referenced in a properly filed legal action. It is entered as evidence of notice of rebuttal. Let me see something. Counter deeds do not automatically override public records unless properly noticed, recorded, and enforced in appropriate legal or administrative context. Courts may not recognize them unless there's a legal foundation, trust law, ecclesiastical law, or constitutional claim that is properly invoked and supported. And I mean, all of these are good: ecclesiastical law, trust law, constitutional claim. Let's see. People seeking to assert status for private individuals, indigenous nationals, non-citizen that may record counter deeds to establish standing under a different jurisdiction, religious, tribal, international law. Show rebuttal to presumptions of U.S. So there you have it. A counter deed is a secret writing. So secret means you create the secret writing and then you get it notarized. Like me, I would get it notarized and put my seal on it if I had a seal. to go with it, which I do have a seal of a trust. But if you guys are creating a church, you should also get you a seal for the church and put your seal. Isn't that what the other church entities do? The government is a church entity, it's a religious entity, right? And that brings to mind a question I got posed earlier, right before the show, is when you go into the hospital to have a child, right? The person who gets you to sign off on a birth certificate is not part of the hospital staff. Is not a um medical worker. I had another word, but they don't work for the hospital. The hospital gives them jurisdiction into their establishment. So they give them a place to work. So that place that they're working is part of the county. And them adopting newborns into the county register or naturalizing them in. That's what that person's job is, to take the child from the spiritual realm into the material realm. I hope y'all know that, right? Your child is a God-made creation through an act of the mom and dad connecting and becoming one and creating a child or divine child. So when you go to the hospital and you do all of this, fill out all the paperwork, your membership forms, basically, just like a church, you fill out the membership forms and you give them consent. If we screw up, you won't sue us. All of that stuff. So you even you give them authority over your life. That if we screw up, you can't sue us. That whatever we're about to do is risky, and there is a chance of death or even harm, irreversible harm. So you sign away your divine family, your divine father or mother, and transfer rights over to the establishment, which is called the hospital. And while you're in there, the hospital is going to introduce you to your new church, the county. And you make that child a member by filling out all of the proper paperwork, and then they go and process it for a birth certificate. And congratulations, you have now gave custody of your child to the state. But the state is so nice. They're nice. They're really nice. They're so nice. They'll let you take the baby home and be the custodial parent until you do something they don't like, and then they'll come and take that baby. Because why? They got the authority because they have you registering your child with the church membership. And the church membership has rules, it has bylaws, it has statutes. That's if we deem you to be harmful to our child, we can come get you and take you from being a custodial parent. We'll take the child temporarily into a foster home until we find new custodial parents. Or you could get in our good gracious and beg us for forgiveness and go through the court system and write notices and go to classes and counseling under our church guidelines, and we'll be so kind and give the child back to you to be the custodial parent again. I hope y'all hearing me loud and clear. So anytime you use their documents to prove anything, you're only proving, I don't care if you get it authenticated, you put an affidavit on top of it, you're only proving the membership to church membership. Period. That's all you're doing. And the jurisdiction which that child has become a part of. This is why it's important you have to make your own documents. Now, there's a reason why I called it a county deed. Because there's so many records that's already been created because you didn't know what was going on. So now you have to counter deed. You have to create a secret writing to destroy, invalidate a public one. Oh, can I get my? Oh, can I? See, the first question I get from people because they so worried because the government they in love with the government's benefits. Will I be able to do this? Can I get my SSI? Can I get my food stamps? Can I get my public housing, my Section 8? Can I keep all of that? Can I stay in here just a little bit till I get this? Can I? Is it okay? All this stuff sounds good, Akeem. I know I need to do it because this is what's keeping me a prisoner, but I want to stay a prisoner just a little bit longer because they got some money they gonna give me. People actually say, y'all think I'm playing like I'm just making this stuff up. People actually approach me with that. And I listen, to each its own, do what you want. But you got to decide what you really want. You want freedom or what do you want? Because if your money consciousness is, if you worried about money, if your money consciousness is right, you don't need a public benefit. Because the wealth that I get from heaven, which is the higher consciousness of my thoughts and mind, and me thinking and manifesting what it is I need, what I know I deserve, I'm gonna manifest that. But there's a catch to the manifesting. There's a catch. If you really want to really want to raise your vibration to a level of manifestation where it's going to set you free. I'm sorry, some of y'all just not going to manifest anything past what you have already. And this is going to hurt some feelings. It may not hurt some feelings. I don't know, but it's gonna convict you what I'm about to say. But before I say it, I'm gonna preference it with this, with some stories out of the Bible. Everyone in the Bible who elevated, who got any type of significance, had to move from the land they was in to another land, mostly a strange land where they didn't know anybody. You cannot grow and get bigger if you're still in the same land, in the same place. Oh, Keem, I can do it. I can do it. I can stay here on the same block. I can do it. Then how come when these ball players get their money, the first thing they do, they leave? Because they know they can't be millionaire living, in the hood. See, y'all attachments is keeping you right where you are because that attachment, that land attachment is going to keep you attached to the old you. I know that. I know that's a gut punch. I know it. How serious are you? How serious was it? Right? They had to leave. They had to move. Had to go somewhere else. I mean, even Cain had to leave. after he killed his brother because he knew that way he was saying he was doomed. God said, you know what? I'm gonna put a sign, go over here, do whatever. And he lived his life out, even though he killed his brother. Isn't that strange? That's a strange story all together right there. But I'm just showing you. Noah had to build the ark because what he had before was going to be washed away, and the whole new set of people was going to start things over. 8 people. Well, leaves a lot of questions, right? 8 people having children. That means all of the cousins had to get down and busy, get down and dirty in order to have children, right? I know the stories leave some stuff, right? That's why we know that there's a lot of gaps in the Bible because them people who started writing the Bible, they weren't that intelligent. They was intelligent enough to tell you lies, but they wasn't intelligent enough to fill the gaps of the lies that leave a lot of craziness open to interpretation. But everything he had to leave. Lot had to go to a new land. Abraham, new land. And then on top of that, even though they went to new lands, they had to travel yearly to go to the temple, which was days journeys in order to get their blessings and to pay tribute to God. They had to be uncomfortable traveling and prepare. That's a long journey. Bring food. You had children. Remember, Jesus got left behind after they were going back home, and they were days away. And they were, where the hell where is this boy at? And they had to go back to the temple, go days to go find him. And even Christ at that early age knew that he had to be in a different place to elevate. That's the problem. Why most of us are not getting anywhere. We have a mindset, we have the formula, but some things we just won't change. Got the whole recipe and ready to cook. But then when it get to that part about moving and relocating and getting yourself off the government's titty, y'all don't want to let that go. And when you hold on to those things, that's the one God that you won't let go. Because you can have many gods. I heard a millionaire say this. If you want significant change in your life, you must relocate from where you are right now. And I know that to be true. I was living in Columbia, South Carolina. And when I relocated, my prosperity went up. Then I relocated again, prosperity went up again. Put myself in a better environment that was more conducive to the energy that I wanted to be in. Right now, this is I know y'all, some of us are hanging out with people that ain't thinking about, can't even figure out what they want to do. But that's your homie, that's your go-to, that's this and that. If they can't figure out what to do, that means they bringing all that confusion to you. And it's going to cause you to figure out I don't know what to do. So are we really serious about our change? Are we? Are we just talking? Are we just listening to the gurus tell us? We just like hearing that what he said sound good. Reverend Ike, he good. He got good words. And I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking about myself. I realized at this juncture to go to the next level, like the level that I really want to be at, I gotta change. I gotta move some things. I can't be the Akeem of yesterday because that's why I'm saying I'm do these meditations, get real deep and get more committed to doing them daily, more than one a day, and just commit myself to that. And just and even the person was so good at explaining to me. You said, listen, with the work you do that every day. You're very, very, really reliable when it comes to that. Now you have to be the same thing with the meditations. So that's something I have to add in. Like last year, I started walking every day, going into the path and walking. It was hard at first because I was just going outside the house and walking in a little circle. Dog do his thing, clean it up, and throw it away. I was like, man, I'm not doing that. I'm not tired of cleaning up after this dog. So I'm gonna take him somewhere where he could just go in the woods and do his thing, and I can keep moving. And I've been doing that ever since for over a year now, right? Then I said, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run, and while I'm out there, so I started that like late December and been doing it every day. In the beginning, running, oh man, my lungs were burning up. Now it's like it's good. So same thing with the meditations. It's gonna be keeping my mind centered and in there. I have to keep chasing my thoughts and bringing them back, right? Calming down. But after a while, I can become Buddha, better than Buddha. You know, Buddha was another form of the Christ, right? Just like Krishna and so many others. And they had female Christ that y'all don't want to talk about. Plenty of them. Before these male Christs hit the scene. That kind of bothers the male ego to hear that. But I've been saying it so much now, I'm like, this is another thing. Why not? They say there's nothing new under the sun. Why couldn't it be a female Christ? Huh? Mary Magdalene had scriptures. She had a book that they took out. They really did a number on our minds. This is why we are okay with staying in the same position. That's why we're okay with that. I know I'm not okay with it. I do well. I'm doing well in this position I'm in now, but it's not the end. It's more. And just like you, there's more for you too. So back to the county deed. You have to create your secret right and to destroy these public records. And remember what I said about evidence. It's your evidence. Once you get all that stuff fully authenticated, no one could rebut what you're doing. No one. No one could rebut it. Once you understand how evidence works, no one can beat you. What time is it? 8:15? All right. Let's shout out to the people in the chat. We got Indie Circle Ministry. Peace. Me, I'm telling everybody peace. That's me. Jason, peace. I know the sound was low. I have to work on that. I Bolden says peace, everyone. Peace. I forgot you started. Oh, that was my brother. He was trying to get me this. Yeah, he's got this app he worked on I think is pretty awesome. I'm gonna get with him. He put a secret writing either before a notary under a private seal, which destroys and validates or to a public one. Salutes to everyone. Most hated bronze flat power god. Back to you. Oh, I bowled him 100%. Hell of a show, bro. Thank you. Great seminar. Yeah, it was. Those who missed it, you can get the recording. I ain't gonna beat you up. If you want to see what I said, and I talked about counter deeds and what you actually need to do. And I talked about it briefly here. But as I was talking, the ideas is expanding. I'm thankful to Raquel who sent me that question earlier. It really got me helping. Listen, we joined a membership and didn't even know it was a membership. We we didn't even know that because it wasn't presented that way. It was presented as something that's required for you to do. Yes, it's required because you went into their establishment to have your child. There's birth workers out there that will help you deliver your child healthy. He says it's L Bolden. Oh, okay. My bad, brother. It's L Bolden, actually. Okay, let me. Oh, okay. I thought that was an I. It's L Bolden. Got you. All right. Peace. All right. Thanks for the correction. Um, yeah. I was there, this is the first time I've been back to New York and I actually felt like, I could come back home. I think like I really seriously thought about that. But, I got my parking, garage, all that. I don't know. New York is That's a lot. Me and a brother was talking about the same. Me and a brother was talking about the same thing while talking about a 501c. Yeah, and I actually read that case law how a church who was open for one full 140 years decided to do the paperwork to get their tax exempt recognition, and the court actually said that they annexed themselves into. You know what? In order to hear what that case talked about, you need to get the webinar because it reinforces what I'm talking about. You got to completely separate. You cannot be using their docs for anything if you're truly trying to be free. Okay? Got to create your counter deeds. I remember someone referencing, or just authenticating and putting your affidavit, that's a counter deed. When I think about it, kind of, sort of, but it's not, to me, a secret writing either before a note or under a private seal which destroys and validates also a public one. You're not really destroying it by putting an affidavit of ownership on it. Because if you own it, you still got to go to get to them to get copies. How do okay, you got your affidavit on there. What do you do with it then? I got some other ideas. But before I publish that, I must do it. But I'm confident this idea I have will work. What I mean? As I'm meditating, something, you have to read these definitions over and over and over again, and then boom, it hits. Okay, wait. A secret writing, either before a note or under a private seal, which destroys, invalidates, or alters a public one. A secret writing. A secret writing. My mind is churning, right? Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Writing some stuff down. Just thought. Think about what I was saying earlier about how they adopted your child into their membership. They adopted you. They took you on. You became a foster child temporarily, while you in the hospital, and then they sent you home and discharged you to your custodial parents, what you call your mom and dad. I'm not sure. How do we get it? AGIN. I'm not sure what you're asking. How do we get it again? The webinar? It's on my website. I'm still putting the edits through, and I gotta put closed caption on it. And you can pre-order it now. It should be ready by June 1st. Should be ready by June 1st. It will be ready by June 1st. Go to my website, AkeemL.com or AkeemL.net and get it. Okay? Peace, love, and prosperity. I gotta finish this app. Yeah, finish it, bro. Go for that money. All right. All right. With that being said, I'm out of here. It's 8:23. Peace, prosperity, extreme wealth to everyone. I'm done. I was gonna play some more of the web seminar, but not right now. Spirit said no. Peace. And that static are being sacrificed. And that's if your stuff's not available, they can't hear it. Sometimes you gotta feel your way through the dark, and I struggled all the way up into the minute. Peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to all you guys.